Okay. I want to kind of get this out there before the little things I forget about. Accidentally offending somebody or anti discrimination against disability people. Some people are just easily offended. And twice in my life, I've had a confrontation with somebody that got out of hand because they took what I said out of context. But yesterday I had to be out of the house. And just so happens my friend was having a garage sale, so I went over there, kind of helped him out, an extra set of hands, extra set of eyes. And afterwards, he says, and I still couldn't go home. And he's like, well, hang out a bit. We're going to go eat lunch, and I'll buy you lunch for helping us, and da 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 da. Best fried pickles I've ever had. I could go back to that restaurant right now and just eat an order of fried pickles. They were that good. Beside the point, though, we were sitting there talking, and I was telling the story to his wife about a video I saw. I believe it was TikTok. I don't think it was on YouTube. And there was a disabled lady that had no arms and no legs, and don't know why, don't know how. But she was advertising skincare products. It was a lotion that started with a C. I can't even remember what it was, but I know there was a C on there. And I'm like, well, obviously somebody has to help her, because how is she going to put on lotions if she doesn't have arms or legs? And I'm like, I had so many questions, like, how does this person function in life? And the way she came around the corner to introduce herself, it was like it was a shock, because you weren't expecting that, like an army roll, and then all of a sudden she stands up and there's no legs and no arms. It kind of messes with your mind, because that's not something you see every day. It's like taking a double look at a little person. It catches you off guard, and you don't mean to stare, but sometimes it's a funny situation. And that's when I was telling her the story, and off to my left, there was a guy there, and he just got red-faced and was staring me down. Could have killed me in a heartbeat, just the next table over. Fairly good spaced apart, but right to my left. And he's just staring me down, just red-faced, and I'm trying not to swear, very mad, agitated. And I couldn't figure out what the problem was, but I kept telling the story, but he's just playing this, staring me down thing. So I'm like, what am I missing here? And they were talking, and she was telling me some stuff, and I was looking at him like, I wouldn't try anything, dude. I can take you, and I was obviously armed multiple ways. Not to mention, I always, instead of getting in a fist fight, my natural thing is I'm going to slam you with the fucking chair that I'm sitting on, and I just swore. So, last thing I want to do is get in a fist fight, but I'll slam the damn chair into your face and make you rethink some shit. And I couldn't figure out why he was so mad, and then I was sitting there looking at him like, okay, are we going to do this thing or not? And he slowly but surely went back to, and they never talked. The whole time, they never said anything to each other, the man and the woman. She had no problem shoving calories down her damn gullet. And nothing about the situation would have looked abnormal if he didn't concentrate so hard on me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on this, because I'm not going to get caught off guard, because the bathrooms, he's got to walk behind me. Although I can see the door to the restaurant. I'm situation awareness at this point, right? This fucker's not going to just walk behind me. So he slowly but surely goes back to their meal, and they never say anything to each other. They're just looking at each other and eating their meal like normal people. And I realized then that she only had 4 digits on her right hand, and they weren't like normally spaced. It was weird, and I'm thinking, okay, but that she's still functioning. I mean, they looked fairly upper class, upper middle class. she can't be that mad because she's missing a digit. You know, although her hand was messed up, she could still manipulate it and do everything just fine. I was like, okay, that can't be it. And then finally she leaned back in her chair, and her other hand was like a claw, like a crab claw. She had a thumb, and then she had one weird appendage, like two fingers together, but you know, it was obviously disfigured somehow. And you would have to think it was a birth defect. And that's when I realized, okay, that's what they were mad about. But we were talking about how the lady, I was like, how the lady that I was with, the guy's wife that I was with, I was sitting there wondering how she's going to do an advertisement on this, because they always show rub and lotion or whatever. And I said, what got me was she put the lotion, you know, using her mouth, she put like a paintbrush or a real heavy duty makeup brush into the lotion somehow, and had it sitting on the counter where she could put her elbow into the counter and then move her face on the brush, and she put lotion on her face. And I'm like, damn, I never would have thought about that. But this whole time he was just sitting there just staring me down for about, I would say, 5.5 minutes. Like, if you're gonna make a play, do it. If not, you know, go back. And I'm laughing because we're telling the story, but I'm more laughing because this guy's getting so pissed off at us just explaining. And the lady that I was with was like, you know, I don't see how people like that. I was like, well, they find ways when you can't function, you know. You think you got problems, try going through life without legs or arms, and yet they find a way, and obviously they have help from somebody from certain situations. But it's amazing how independent you can be when you have to, out of necessity. And there was, I said, obviously my mind was going through like 1,000 scenarios where, you know, life would just be hard. But it was amazing how bringing up somebody's disability obviously offended them, and especially the man. And it was like, you're that offended over somebody telling a story, and yet we're sitting there trying to figure out how they would do things in different scenarios and being proud of them being as independent as they are. And it was just amazing how pissed off he got. But yet the woman he was with, I don't know what relations they were, she was obviously a functional human being. She could do everything by herself. And I would have never noticed that she was handicapped or had a birth defect on her hands, because the way she was eating the burger and moving everything around, and she didn't really use the claw hand too much until she leaned back in her chair and she was done with her meal. But take a moment and just, you know, if you can't laugh at yourself, what can you laugh at? Yeah, there are certain situations in her life where she was probably made fun of, and, you know, certain things are hard to do with when one hand's a claw, and she was obviously right-handed and had 4 digits on her left hand. But if you're going to get that upset or that triggered or have that much of an attitude, you probably don't want to mess with a table where people can outnumber you and are willing and able to do what they have to fucking do. But if you're going to let somebody sitting at a neighboring table get you so riled up and so pissed off in public talking about somebody's disability, maybe you shouldn't be out in public. Maybe you should get your shit to go and go home where you can control your atmosphere and not get triggered by people. But if you're going to stare somebody down, you either step up to the plate or back down. And people are obviously going to talk about macabre situations and things like that, but we weren't talking about it in a negative way. And I forget what brought it up, but I'm like, yeah, you know, the way she rolled, you would think you would roll the other way, you know, like lengthwise, but she went head over butt. And it was a weird thing. Like, you when you're watching a video, you just don't think somebody's going to come around the corner with no arms and no legs. and yet she's making money on TikTok and has a huge following and teaches people how to do shit, and more power to her. But if you're sitting at a table with somebody that has a disability and other people are talking about other people with disabilities, and most of it, 99.9% of it, was in a positive way, and you're going to get that upset that you're going to stare down somebody that can obviously take you, and you don't understand where they're at mentally and what they're prepared to do. And the more pissed off he got, the more I found it funny as hell, because I didn't understand the situation of her hands until he finally looked away and I could focus on her. And it took me a couple of minutes to like counting fingers, and I knew something was messed up. But I mean, hell, I have an uncle that lost a damn pinky in an industrial accident. So I mean, it's like, okay, you lost one. You have one functioning hand with just one less digit, but the other hand's messed up. But you never used it until you had to. But yet you're going to get so mad that you stop talking and just stare somebody down for 5.5 minutes, and then walking out of the restaurant. I told the guy I was with, did you see how pissed off that he got and how much he was just staring a hole right through me? And I just found it funny as hell, because we were just talking about, having a disability and being functionable and having to learn how to do different things. And 2 hours before, I had an episode where the lady even asked me if I was okay, because I'm sitting there convulsing and shit, and had a pretty bad event. But just take a moment, listen to what people are actually saying, and then decide whether or not it's worth the fight. Because if you're that easily offended over somebody talking about a disability that clearly she didn't have a problem shoving calories down her throat, but yet he's got to be the superior person and stand up for somebody that wasn't talking negative about anybody with disabilities. Just know that when you're picking a fight with somebody and you get that damn mad, the other person probably has you beat. And I know that sounds bad, but would you rather be offended or get your ass kicked? Would you rather take a couple of minutes and say, okay, I don't agree with those idiots are saying, but I'd rather concentrate on my good meal and the company that I'm with? Okay, yeah, there are some people that are dealing with some shit, whether it's mental issues or whether it's physical issues or major issues like having no arms and legs and functioning in society, and, something you don't see every day, and talking about it. But the moment you decide in your mind that other people talking about bad situations or situations that are not normal being so taboo or so offensive that you're ready to go that hardcore, or you're ready to cause an issue, you need to evaluate yourself, not society. Because how often do you see somebody on TV or in real life that I've never seen somebody in real life missing arms and legs, like both. And then I was telling a story that there was a guy that had a motorcycle accident, and he was a diabetic, and he lost one foot. It got infected, and they had to take his foot off. Well, then when they amputated his foot, then it got infected, so they had to take just the above the knee on his right side. Well, years later, his diabetes got worse, and the blood flow to his left leg got a lot worse. So they had to take his left foot off. Well, then the infection from not being able to heal right and the issues with diabetics, they had to amputate his leg. So they're like, well, we can't amputate the whole leg because we got to take your foot, but now due to the infection and lack of blood flow, we have to take your other leg, so we might as well go above the knee like the other leg. And I was telling him, I was helping him into a above ground stand because he wanted to hunt out in the open. He didn't want to be in a ground blind, where it would have been easier for me to pick him up, and hell, he could probably gorilla walk with his hands and get up in the chair, because there was a trailer, his chair, and then I had a camouflage chair that I could put my foot on top and help him up into the blind. And he did a face plant in the blind. And my foot, because my foot went through the chair, I then went through the chair, hit the trailer, went out of the back of the trailer for the four-wheeler, and I'm laying on the floor. Now I've got the wind knocked out of me because I fell probably 7 feet. And luckily I bounced off of several things before I hit the ground. But the first thing to hit the ground was the back of my head. So I'm sitting there laughing my ass off because now I can breathe. And I just made a guy with no legs face plant in a damn deer blind 9 feet off the fucking ground. And by the time I recovered and got everything situated, I look up, he's sitting in the deer blind chair with his rifle out, you know, looking, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry about that. He's like, you know, things happen. He was grateful for the opportunity to be out hunting. He's like, it's not the first time I face planted. He's like, I've broken my nose so many times before I could get my hands up. Luckily, he got his hands up just enough to where it didn't break his nose, but he hunted on our place for 2-3 years. I think he died, or we moved and then he died the next year. I'm not sure, but hell, he went out hunting by himself, drove the truck out to the damn hunting blind, got up in there, killed a deer, and dragged the deer up into the bed of his truck. And I'm like, how in the hell did you do that by yourself? He's like, he had a rope rigged up through the thing to where he could sit there and pull the deer up after he gutted it out. And then he got his chair around to the truck and got up into the truck and got his wheelchair in the truck and drove to the damn place to have it butchered. And he was on a limited income, and my father told him where to go to get the deer processed, and my father paid for it. So it's like, okay, I've actually helped people in bad situations that were handicapped, and it's like there's certain things I'll do for you and certain things I won't. But the moment that we discuss things in public, and you find it so offensive, you're ready to go hardcore. Just know that my advice to you is get thicker skin, pay attention to people, and realize just because you think you're a Billy Badass and stare somebody down and the other guy is laughing, you know, whenever I'm in a situation like that, I can't control it. It's like, are we going to fucking play or not? And I'm already 3 steps ahead, because if you're going to attack somebody, just fucking do it. Don't waste your time staring somebody down and thinking about it. You either go fucking hardcore or let it go. You don't stand in the middle of the road for that long, or bad shit's going to happen. But if everything is so offensive to you, stay your ass at home. If you can't be out in public and listen to people talk without ready to go hardcore into a fight, then there's something wrong with you, not the general public talking about things. As for the lady with no arms and no legs that put the lotion on her, it puts the lotion on the skin. That was awesome video. And I'm proud that she's doing it. I'm proud that she's functioning. And I would help her in any fucking way I could if I ever saw her in public. But the mere thing of approaching the situation and talking about it, yeah, there might be some things that are said that, well, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? Fuck, I don't know. I've never had to do it. You take time and figure it out. But you either go hardcore if you're that into it and that offended, or you concentrate on yourself and you do your own thing. But if you're going to fuck with somebody, either step up to the plate or let it go. Love y'all.